Hi, everyone. Welcome to the transition table. My name is Megan Kearney,
And I'm Diane Hartsworth.
and today we're going to be talking about what is exit factor and why you need value advisors. So let's think. Have you ever stopped to wonder what your business is actually worth, or more importantly, what it could be worth in the future? Well, today's episode, Dion and I are going to talk about and dive into a topic that's often overlooked until it's too late, and that is exit planning. So, truly, like whether you're years away from selling or just starting to think about what comes next, knowing how to position your business for long-term success is absolutely crucial.
So this is where Exit Factor comes in because Exit Factor isn't just another business consulting firm. Our approach is strategic, forward thinking, and tailored specifically for all your goals. We help business owners understand where they're now, where they want to be, how to get there, and we do that with smart, actionable strategies and roadmaps. We don't just prepare you for an eventual sale. We help you build a stronger, more valuable, and more profitable business now. Whether you're planning an exit in 2 years or even 20, this episode will give you a new perspective on building real translatable value in your business. Well, Megan, why don't we get started? Why would you say that exit factor is important and who we really are?
Yeah, so really at the core, exit factor helps business owners build, optimize, and then eventually exit their companies with maximum value and minimal stress. And I feel like, unlike other traditional, sorry, I can't speak today, consultants or brokers, I feel like our focus isn't just about the transaction at the end. It's about the transformation that happens along the way. And I feel like it comes down to, not just the business, but are they going to be okay after? Are they going to be okay throughout the process? It's, beyond just the business as a whole. It goes into the, psychological aspect as well. And I feel like, we believe that exit planning isn't just about selling your business. It's about building a business that someone else actually wants to buy. That means how can we make it stronger, more efficient, more dependent, or independent on you as the owner. So the value of the business is not just within yourself, but it's in with the team around you.
Oh, so true. So true. And I think one of the things that often will spook business owners that when they hear exit planning, they're like, I'm not looking to leave my business.
Yep, they're like, no, 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 no.
Right. And I think one of the benefits of who we are and what we do is, developing a an exit plan is actually a good business strategy, right? Even if you're not ready to sell, this type of business strategy puts you in control. It helps you identify and fix value gaps. It helps you build a more autonomous, sellable business, which at the same time, by developing a strong management team, gives you more flexibility so that you're not in the business, you're working on the business. We also help you align your personal and financial goals with your business strategy. And then one of the things, of course, that we used to see a lot in trans world is, you know, no last minute surprises, no disappointing valuations, and if an emergency were to occur, everything doesn't fall apart. And um, that's really important. I once worked with a woman who needed a business valuation, and she called me and I found out that she was the widow of the owner of this business. It was they sold machinery parts, and they did also repairs. Her husband died. Her son took over, and then sadly, her son died, and her daughter-in-law was unable to run the business both mentally, and she didn't have the wherewithal. And so they were just trying to figure out what they could do. because the business had been dependent on the owners of the business. And it was just tragic. They were trying to figure out how to sell to some of the managers, but of course, those people might not have the money. So, because they hadn't planned ahead, here they were in a situation where they were probably getting a fire sale price. Sorry, I can't talk today either, for a business that could have been worth a lot more. And then,
Yeah.
of course, the last thing is it gives you options, right? The last episode we talked about where I was at the EPI conference, business owners want to pass businesses to their families. Maybe they want to pass them on to management, either as a management sale, a stepped sale, or even an employee stock option plan. And ESOP is a very common management tool. So, if you want to sell, pass it on, or simply reduce your day to day involvement, the earlier you start, the better your outcome.
Yeah, it was interesting. Off of what you're saying, I went to a seminar this week, and I love the analogy that they talked about. They talked about thinking about selling your house. Would you have an open house this weekend and just all of a sudden have an open house? Are you prepared for that? I would say probably 99.9% of people are not prepared to have an open house this weekend or tomorrow. So the idea of being prepared, there's so much that goes into preparing for an open house, kind of like preparing for your business. And I think that concept can relate to, individuals who have sold their house or looking at buying a house. There's a lot of prep work that actually goes into, that transition or that experience.
That's really funny because when we bought our house here in Salt Lake City, when we moved to Utah, the house showed extremely poorly because it was an older couple that had a lot of stuff. And I'm not saying that my house is pristine now, but we were the people that could see through that. But like you said, I don't know how many people had looked at the house before and went, oh my gosh. I mean, there were bookshelves in the middle of the basement in the
Oh
in
my
the
God.
in the playroom downstairs. Like you had
Yeah.
to walk around the bookshelves. So that's a great point. And I think one of the things that we can use as an analogy is that creating a business that can operate without you there day to day is really like cleaning up your house.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And then really lastly, and we'll touch on this another episode, but our 5-step process when it comes to our exit assessment, I think is key. And that goes into the value. So how do you evaluate your starting point? It goes into the optimization phase, improving your performance. The third one is record. So how can you document, to make things seamless? And then fourth step is transform. How can you actually build and grow your business? And lastly is the exit. So how can you achieve a profitable transition?
Right. All valid points. And I think we'll be getting into each one of those